I love the fact this town was pretty conservative back then. Yeah, back then. And they had a proclamation ready to go, like it was a subpoena. Like, ready to shove it in his pants if he did lascivious behavior on this stage. He had to go meet with the mayor. Look, Mr. Mayor, I'm not gonna do anything. It's just me and the kids just not having fun, man, that's it.
All right, now, let's get out there and put on a good show.
So, Elvis Presley, yeah, right here. Moral of the story is, support this place or they'll fucking tear it down in a minute. So, and thank you for supporting it. Thank you. Yeah. It really is beautiful. They will not make any more theaters like this ever again. So it's a monument. It's a beautiful thing, Florida. Apparently, very appropriate for this movie tonight. This theater being haunted. Right? Am I right?
Yeah, baby.
94-year-old theater has seen some shit. To my understanding, this theater had an organist from years ago
That's nice.
who took his own life and who could sometimes be heard up in the balcony. They found out why he took his own life. Apparently he got tired of playing with his own organ. The truth is weird. So they've refurbished these seats, by the way. Are they comfortable? Pretty good, huh? Pretty good. Is anyone in the two refurbished seats? They're not new. There's only 2 seats here that were sent to Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm not shitting you. This is all true. They shopped smart. They sent it to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and they were reupholstered. So, is anybody up there? Are you aware that there are 2 haunted original seats? And why wouldn't you want to sit in those during the movie? Anyway, if anybody falls out of the balcony tonight, you got it. Well, it's very appropriate that Evil Dead is to be shown in this theater because it's such a classy motion picture. Yeah, one of our first reviews for this movie called it the sickest of the sick. A newspaper, the headline was, "Films That Stoop." I guess as in, like, underachieve, I guess. One of them said that Sam Raimi took every bad idea he ever had and put it into a low-budget blender. That's what this movie is.
Spider-Man, son.
Well, guess what? Along came a guy named Stephen King. Stephen King saw this film at a film festival in Cannes, France in 1982. And he really liked it. And he wrote an article and called it the most ferociously original horror film of the year. Yeah. We were like, oh boy. Wait a second, that was from Stephen King. I don't know how we tracked him down, but we found him. And we were like, can we use that quote? He goes, yeah, sure, why not? We're like, what the fuck? So that's at the top of the poster, the most ferociously original. There's your shitty low-budget blender ideas right there. most original film of the year. Stephen King. It was great. It sent out a fuck you of a force wave out to everyone. And the next review was in the New York Times by a guy named Kevin Thomas, who thereby proclaimed it an instant classic. So, I think the early bad reviews really helped this movie. Because part of the reviews were like, it's unwatchable, it's unbearable. And then some people reading it go, well, then I have to see it. This movie was banned in Europe. Yes, yep. In the UK, it was banned. It was called a video nasty. Oh, it's nasty. Oh. And in the UK, they can exercise censorship. In the US, they can't censor your movie, but they can call it NC-17. They can let you not get a rating for it. So, this movie was banned in the UK for 4 or 5 years. It was a big court case. Sam Raimi went over to shout to the hills about injustice. Didn't matter, he never got to testify. They lost in court, and now everybody in the entire United Kingdom wanted to see the movie that they were no longer allowed to see. Yeah. And the next year, Evil Dead was the #1 video of the year. The Shining was #8. Sorry, Stephen King. So it's nice when that happens, because it took a lot to make this little movie. It may not seem like a lot when you watch the movie, but it meant a lot when we made it. You're gonna watch an analog movie tonight. There is no digital anything in this movie. Yeah, no. This is made on Kodak film stock, 1979. You go to a fucking laboratory and you buy it by the foot. If you don't have the money, see you later, man. You have to then take it back to the lab after you've exposed it through a camera that mostly wants to destroy it as it takes it through. Then you give it back to them, and then they give you what's called a work print. And you go, why is that a work print? Because then you put it into an editing machine that will destroy that. And then you go back to the negative and print a new work print. And it makes absolutely no sense at all. But it kept every slacker away from the film business. There were no slackers in 1979. You couldn't go to Kmart and buy a digital 4K blah, blah, blah with a tower of blah, blah, blah and After Effects and all that horse shit and make a movie for $5,000. It's not, sorry man, it wasn't happening in 1979. Not that I wouldn't have wanted that, mind you. We also had to get the money to make the movie. Has anyone ever raised money for anything here? Other than like Kickstarter or whatever?
No.
Like pulling teeth. Yeah, that's a good analogy. We got money from a dentist. Very good. We got money from a guy who, he goes, I don't invest in movies, but I do gamble in Las Vegas. Here's my Las Vegas gambling money. He made 30 times his money back. Yeah. It's a good bet. It's a good bet. And what's funny is sometimes it's really hard to get one investor But if you get the right one, we got some money from a guy whose family invented the Delta three-way faucet. They sold a lot of those. This family was shitting bricks of gold. And a couple of them invested. And so you don't even have to meet them after a while. They go, oh, my cousin invested. Oh, here you go, I'll go in. So we had some people we never met. And other people, one guy, Sam Raimi, was at the processing, it was in the camera department of Kmart, getting a 50-foot piece of Super 8 processed, and he had a stack of like 10 of them. And normally you don't buy 10 of those. There's no one shoots that much amateur footage. And there was a guy standing in line, and he looked at Sam and he goes, why'd you buy so much of those? Did you go on a trip? He goes, no, I made a movie. The guy goes, really? You made a movie? What do you make them? Oh, it's called this or that, because we're going to use it to raise money for a feature film. The guy goes, really? You think you're going to do that? Huh? He goes, yeah. He goes, here's my card. Let me know if you ever get serious. Sam goes, puts it in his pocket. 2 years later, he's on the phone with the guy. Hey, remember me? I'm the guy at the Kmart counter processing Carter. Now we want you to invest. And we got money from the guy who could not, we made a Super 8 version of what you're going to see here to show investors, to let them know, like, it'll be like this, only better. It worked. It worked. For some reason, it worked. We were able to show it. We put the projector in the center aisle of theater, very much like this, way too big for this format, and strung speaker cables that the longer the cable goes, the more hum it starts to make. For anybody who's an audio aficionado, it sounded like shit by the time we were done. So we're trying to project it on the small screen because the owner of the theater showed Rocky Horror Picture Show on Friday night and Saturday night. Yeah. He was a very forgiving kind of manager. Most managers would be like, you want to show what? Where? Get out of here. So we wound up having a very good attendance, and we got a review in the Detroit Free Press, which is kind of ridiculous because it wasn't really much of anything. But you could then show that to investors. Hey, look, hey, did you see the article today in the Detroit Free Press? So we bullshitted our way through not quite enough money. We were supposed to get to a certain amount and we were shy of it, so we sent a letter to all the investors that said, hi, hey, we can't get to the amount that we really need to get to. Can we go and make the movie anyway? They're like, yeah, okay, whatever, sure. So we were supposed to film in Michigan, in Detroit, Michigan, where I'm from. Yeah, and Detroit misses you too, let me tell you. Because there's nobody there. But Detroit had a very, very cold winter ahead. And we were late raising money, so we thought, let's go south, let's head south. So we wound up in Tennessee looking around, and had a guy named Gary Holt helping us. I don't know where he came from. Maybe the state of Tennessee assigned him to help find, well, to find like a suitable location. We needed a cabin in the woods. That's what we needed for this movie. So, Jacksonville's later when you find out that the character Ash has a fetish for Jacksonville. Yeah. But I don't want to dash any of your hopes. There was no reason why Jacksonville was picked for the show. No writers were from anywhere near here. They just thought it would be funny. that when Ash said, Man, I can't wait to get to Jacksonville. Then, I think they knew deep in their heart that the audience would go, the fuck is Jacksonville? Why Jacksonville? Nice. I heard that. Wait, that's Dumar, because like Gummo Dumar owns everything, right? All the car dealerships and the names of everything. Dumar, Duval. I'm so sorry. Duval. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll be saying that a lot tonight. So, you distracted me. Anyway, we went to Tennessee. We had to find a cabin where we could film. And Gary Holt was a local guy. And this is Morristown, Tennessee in 1979. Yeah, you knew it. You knew you were there. You knew you were not in Michigan. You'd pass restaurants and go, nope, don't have that in Michigan. Nope. Wow, this is all starting. South of Kentucky, it all changed. And I went to the bank there to get money out. I was one of the producers, so we needed money to pay people and do things. And I got $10,000 out of the bank. And she looked at me weird, but she gives me the money, and it's a stack of money. It smelled exactly like dirt. I go, ma'am, is this moldy? Did you give me like moldy? She goes, it ain't moldy, son. People just bury it in their backyard around here. Okay, I'll just take my moldy old money and get out of here. We were introduced to moonshine during this movie. Man, oh man, it doesn't make you drunk, it just makes you yell loud. Because we told Gary Holt, Gary, okay, here we are, man, Tennessee, 1979, we're from Michigan. Get us some weed, some moonshine. And he laughs because that's what everybody from anywhere else asks for is moonshine. He goes, relax, I'll get you damn moonshine, just relax. He taught us how to tell whether it was good or bad. So he gave us a jar of it. It was a mason jar of moonshine. So you pour a little bit into the cap, and you light it on fire. And if it's a soft blue flame, no problem. If it's an orange flame, it's been distilled in a car radiator. So you don't want that. Don't want that. Or you can shake it up. And if these little tiny bubbles came up, tiny bubbles, no troubles. So that's how you knew. After we drank it twice, and vowed never to touch the shit ever again, we used the rest of it to throw onto the fire just before a shot. We would just throw it right into the fire. That fire would go up, the most beautiful raging fire. So anytime you see it in the movie tonight, and it looks really good, we just hit it with some shot. Yeah. And we left it in a styrofoam cup one time. It was a mistake for two reasons. One is because you realize the physiology. You go, that liquid is melting styrofoam in front of my eyes. I'm supposed to ingest that into my bowel system. Is that how that's going to work? It would bead up on the outside of it, so you knew that it had permeated the perimeter of it. It had penetrated. Oh boy, wow, it was just really, really wrong. So we used that one strategically. That was not used during filming in any way, other than strategically. We also asked Gary Holt to get us some marijuana. We were like, okay, don't give us this horse shit. Oh, it's a sell. We don't have that bullshit. You don't. If you got moonshine back there right next to it, you have a pot throw. Don't lie to me, man. Don't lie to me. So we know it's there. He goes, all right, just relax. Now I'll get you some. I had never smoked before. I was 21 years old in this movie. Some of us have not aged a day, okay? Had never consumed marijuana, but there was a scene in the film where we find an old tape recorder. I don't want to spoil the plot. We find an old tape recorder and we set it down in front of the fire that we used moonshine to look good, turned it on and listened to it. And in the script, we're supposed to pass a joint around. Well, it's 1979. Easy Rider wasn't that many years earlier. It was like 3 years earlier. We're like, wait a second. Jack Nicholson smoked like 48 joints during this campfire scene in Easy Rider. He got nominated for Academy Award. Let's fucking do that. Let's do that. We're on this campfire, and we're gonna listen to this creepy shit and do that, and our reactions will be like crazy, and it'll be great. It was such a bad idea, such a bad idea. Well, I had never consumed before, so I didn't know what was gonna happen. And then it happened. And what was pretty awesome, my early experience was a series of time jump cuts. You'll be listening to something, like everything went into stereo. And I knew Sam was talking to me. But there was a lot of interference that I had to get out. The creaking under my feet was driving me crazy, the sound of the rafters, and Sam was going, I'm trying to translate all that. I didn't know if the camera was rolling or not. So they go, okay, let's shoot the scene now. Let's shoot it. In the finished movie, there's about 4 seconds of this sequence in the movie. And I think in one of the angles, I'm just slumped on an elbow. Because it's just over. There's nothing that's gonna happen for the rest of the night. And I'm outside, not long after that, and I hear the sound man, a very rational man, going, Sam, this is not working. They think they're doing a good job and it sounds terrible. It's terrible. So we decided to not do that anymore. But we did. We didn't want to waste the rest of the marijuana that we had. So we use it for medicinal purposes. The movie is also very real because there's a weird difference between this movie, which is 1979, and you fast forward to Ash versus Evil Dead. Yeah. Thanks for cheering 2 years late. That's cool. Thank you for the most pirated show. Thank you. I paid for it too, ladies, let me tell you. So the difference in the two processes of filming is very different. Let's go back to 1979. At one point, and I'm not going to ruin this, no spoilers tonight, Ash hears a sound, turns his shotgun to the window, and blows it out. So in 1979, we take the shotgun, put the shell in there, and look out the window and see if you can see anybody. Because I know the camera's out there. And our camera guy, Tim, I go, Tim, wave your arm. I go, oh, no, don't be there, don't be there. He goes, where is it safe? So I sort of see him moving away, and I go, that looks pretty safe over there. So just turn the camera on and run. And so, yeah, the complications don't really exist in 1979 because Sam calls action, you turn, and you blow the window away with a shotgun. There's really no one has to be in sync with anything. No one has to plan anything. You just blow the shit out of the window. And I guess hope that the wind is not blowing back in my eyes. Then we go to Ash vs. Evil Dead where, you know, for safety. I felt like I stepped on something. Now we get to Ash vs. Evil Dead, and when I want to shoot something now with the shotgun, I hold it up, and somebody goes, 3, because it's shot in New Zealand, so you hear the guy go, 3, 2, 1, blast! And I'll, like a pantomime, go. And then they'll put in a big digital flash and a howitzer cannon on top of it. So on one hand, it's beautiful. They can make that any color they want. They can make the flame as long as they want, as much smoke as they want. But it's not going to be like just blowing the shit out of a window. So there's a visceral component to a lot of this. We filmed in order for the most part because we didn't know anything about any other way to do it. It was meant to be filmed for 6 weeks, that's a while. It turned into 12 weeks. And after a while, we would lose people. Actors had to go to college, they had jobs, other commitments. So we would just have them leave their clothes. Just leave your costume, and we'll take it from there. So there's a lot of, we call champagne in this movie. There's actually a credit at the end called fake champs, and the explanation for that is if we couldn't see someone who they are, like use the feet, like Ted Raimi's feet are in this movie going like this. Very, very poor foot acting, I would say, too. Which is fine, he was young. He was 13. So Ted got put in the list of fake chimps. There were fake chimps. The reason why the term fake chimp came about is because we watched all the Three Stooges movies after school, all the shorts. For years, we knew them all. And the actor Shemp died while he was making 3 or 4 of them at the same time. They would do that, they'd make more than one at the same time. Well, Shemp had a heart attack. Shemp is my favorite of all the Three Stooges. Curly is way too easy, way too easy. Shemp is the ugliest man in cinema. So Shemp dies, so they have to finish 4 or 5 of these shorts with what we then called a fake Shemp. They would just get somebody in, and they'd cover their face like this, and they'd dub in old lines of, right, guard the door. They would do anything just to get him out of the shot. So we picked up on that. We thought it was funny. Even in high school, they didn't fool us for a second. We're like, that's not Shemp. That's not Shemp's voice either. What's going on here? So there's a bunch of fake Shemps in here because they all had to go away, and we would continue. So the producer, Rob Kappert, plays a demon at one point. Every actor in the movie had what we called the latex point, where they couldn't take it anymore. And would run down the street, if there was a street, clawing the makeup off of their face and crying hysterically for 2 hours. And that was me. Because it was a very raw experience. We hired a guy named Tom Sullivan, great guy, great artist. And we go, Tom, how do we make people getting possessed and then their face changes into something else like a possessed creature? Oh, I know. You take a mold of their face, and then you build upon the mold, you sculpt on that, And that way it'll fit the actor's face perfectly. And if you want to do more molds, you put it on the thing. So you have to make a mold of the actor's face. So Betsy Baker was one of the first people we had to get a mold of, because she gets possessed. Sorry to wreck it for you later in the movie. She gets possessed. So the thing that we used on her face was plaster of Paris.
Oh my God.
I'm not a craftsman, but I do know that it heats up when the compound is setting. So we were so smart though, we gave her a pad of paper and a pen that she could hold on to. While she's lying back like this, it covers her entire face, and there's only 2 straws, one up each nostril, for I think it was a half an hour for this plaster of Paris to settle. And the first thing she writes is, getting kind of warm, you know, and it's like a child's writing, getting kind of warm, like, oh. Meanwhile, we're looking at Tom. Tom, how long is this going to be? Oh, well, I don't know. Yeah, only 15 minutes. Just like 12 minutes, Betsy. Just like 12 minutes. Then she started to fidget in her chair. And the next entry is getting very lightheaded. Here we go. Tom Sullivan. We're going to suffocate Betsy Baker, the first actress we do this to. This is going to be great. Betsy, 2 minutes, Betsy, 2 minutes. Anyway, we finally said, Tom, okay, let's go, get it off. The genius way devised to get it off, she had initially a very light layer of Vaseline on her face. Plaster Paris going on top of that. Gravity was to remove it. So you merely lean forward. And the gravity would take the heavy mass, and it would drop right off your face. And by golly, just popped right off there, right into her hand, and there was a perfect set of all of her eyelashes in the plaster of Paris. She had ripped them all off into the plaster of Paris. And just very deadpan. Her delivery was just great. She goes, "Those are my eyelashes." What do you say? What can you say? Yeah, they are. It just went like that. The whole film was like that. By the end of the shooting, we returned a rental truck that was pretty much destroyed. We drove that back and forth in rural Tennessee. The fun part, of course, it was an open bed in the back, and we would often film well into Sunday morning. And Morristown, Tennessee is a very pious area. It's a dry county, the county that we were in. And I'm in the back of the pickup truck covered in head to toe in blood. That's how I would go back home in the truck, is covered in blood, passing church-going people coming out going, "Oh my God." I'm trying to give them a friendly wave. It's just a chainsaw accident. There's nothing like that. It's okay, buckshot. Got a little close there. And then step into the shower with your clothes on, because that's the only way to get it off. Is you turn the shower up to full blast and you melt it off of you. Yeah, man, those were the days. Man. Can't get away. We found a heater, a kerosene heater that worked too well. It barfed noxious fumes into the cabin, so I'm not really sure why we're still here today, because you're not really supposed to do that. I had a shirt that was covered with blood. We had to get the blood out of it and go back to blue. So we dunked it in water, put it on the heater, dried it off, but then it turned it into peanut brittle. And I went to put it on and I just punched the hole right where the sleeve was. This isn't gonna work. The driveway was about a half a mile long to get to the cabin. Because when we found it, it was in fact abandoned. There was no power, no water, no outhouse. It had 4 inches of cowshed all through it, because this was in this little draw where all these cows would just run around in this cabin, which was, by the way, haunted. They go, now y'all, you understand that this cabin is haunted, right? We're like, okay, come on, we hear that crap all the time. Yeah, we're making a movie. They went, no, this it's real. Have you seen Clara? We've been there working on the cabin in preparation to shoot the movie. We'd go there, work on it. And he asked if we had seen Clara. Like, what do you mean Clara? Oh, Clara was the little girl who survived a murder here 50 years ago. And we're like, oh, really? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was during a thunderstorm. And the whole family was killed except for Clara. She ran and ran into the rain and thunder, and they never killed her. And to this day, so she was now in an old person's home. And apparently there had been a storm the day before. And whenever there's a storm, Clara goes back to the cabin. We never saw her, but it was weird enough to be true. So we think it's true that Clara saw something horrible at this cabin. But the cabin is real. There were no sets built for the cabin either. We also did not do the George Lucas, I'm going to fix this later kind of thing. So it is what it is. Yeah. As a filmmaker, you stamp where you are at that time. So you can see the green garden hose spewing the shit, but we thought it worked pretty good at the time, People standing in the background of shots, lights in the shot. All kinds of crap was in the shot, Yeah. So anyway, that's sort of the premise of this movie. Once Stephen King stepped in to help us, it really paved the way to then do others. And so, we have I will never say anything ill about this movie because it got us all into this ridiculous business. And so it was a very fun experience, but I'm okay having this trapped in a little time capsule where you can watch a cute little me running around going, hey, what's going on? So some of you may have questions. Let's open it up here. You don't need to stand in front of a microphone. Get our lights up. Yeah. Were you just scratching yourself? Okay, no problem. Yes. Will I sign your laser disc? Yeah.